believe it's something like 30% of the world's wealth is in real estate. And it's just getting to this paradigm shift, this tipping point where it's about to jump to this technological age. That's where your competitive advantage is. It's a huge competitive advantage.
Welcome. You're listening to the Apartment Investing Show. This is where you'll learn how to start or scale your apartment investing career. Your host, Adam Adams, has never lost an eating contest. He once ate 16 hamburgers in a single sitting. Adam and his guests will show you how to create residual income by investing in apartment communities. Now, here's your host, Adam AAA Adams.
And we're back with the Apartment Investing Show. My name's Adam Adams. I'm your host, and I'm excited because in this show we do our best to give you all of the ins and outs of what it's going to take for you to really crush it in the multifamily business. What's interesting is that always means something different. Sometimes we're talking about asset management. Sometimes we're talking about how to raise money for your deal. Sometimes we're just talking about how to brand yourself, because it's very hard to raise money unless you brand yourself, unless people know who you are. And sometimes we talk about closing deals, exiting deals, managing the manager. But today we're talking about something unique and special. And I think it's going to be fun because what's interesting is there's not a lot of people talking about blockchain technology right now. Well, I guess there is more and more, but within the real estate space, it seems to be left in the dark. And what's interesting is I believe that in a couple of years, this is going to be the normal way to, for instance, raise money, to raise private capital. This is going to be the new norm. There's going to be people, passive investors, that are like, hey, if you don't use blockchain, I'm not investing in your deal because there's no way to protect me. And so that's why I have Meghan on the show, Meghan Mccallum. How are you today?
I'm great, Adam. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Well, we're just grateful to have you. And I know you're launching your REI Tech show. It's a podcast about real estate, technology, and really how to you do tips, you do tricks, you do technology, all this kind of stuff. So I'm excited for your podcast to launch. By the time this is out, this episode's out, your podcast is probably out there. So tell us a little bit about the show, so that because they're already on the platform, I want them to be able to find you.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this show. I've always been excited about real estate investing, but this is something that's really lit my fire. You won't hear the term REI tech or real estate investing technology just yet. I'm kind of coining this phrase and bringing all the different technologies from all the different industries into one place where we can find them all. So we're taking portions of fintech. We're talking about things like cryptocurrency and the utilization of cryptocurrency in fundraising. We're talking about contech. That's construction technology. There are ways of, if you're a developer and you're putting homes up, there's a way that's better than doing stick builds because there's new technology in that. And these are the things I want to bring forward. We've got CRE tech, which is commercial real estate investing technology. We've got prop tech, which is a combination of mostly home adaptations to technology, like smart homes, and it integrates the IoT, which is the Internet of Things, which is all things that connect to the interface with your Wi-Fi. Like, let's talk like Alexa or your doorbell. That what's the company? The company that's got the doorbell that you can talk through and all that. So your house is just completely wired. So that's pretty much where prop tech comes in, and we can use and pick and choose from each of these different technology bases what applies best to us. So that's what the show is about. We'll also be talking to technologists outside of the real estate investing industry, because things like the adaptations of cars moving to electric and being self-driving, that will change. That will change a lot of things for people. Like, will it be important to live along public transportation when public transportation can go anywhere? Will buses be able to come on call? Does that change the whole phrase, location, location, location is everything? We don't know, but we want to explore all of these different facets with people inside and outside of real estate investing to kind of push our mission of getting real estate into the technological age and out of the analog age.
So how do they find the show?
Right now, the show is up on iTunes. It is up on Spotify, and we're going to be adding other platforms as we go along. But those are going to be our two primary places you'll be able to find the show.
Awesome stuff. And what's it called?
It's called REI Tech, and with Meghan Mccallum. And what we do is we mention tips, tricks, and trends in real estate investing along with the technology.
This is going to be awesome. I'm so glad to have you. For the listener, Meghan left the fire service after working as a firefighter for 14 years. She walked away when she was the chief of the fire department, and she now leverages her risk analysis from all of her experience with her master's degree from the University of Chicago in threat response and management into her investing career. So she's a full-time real estate investor for the last 4 years, and she's got 41 doors. And so one of them's a 20 unit, and then she's got a whole bunch of other smaller multifamily doors that add up to that 41. So it's good to have an expert on the show. And due to her exposure to almost every form of real estate investing, she helps drive trends and pivots with her team as change occurs, and she is on a mission to help usher in the age of technology innovation into this real estate investing, which seems to be the market where most real estate people, I don't know why this happens, we're the farthest back behind anything else. So that's why it's so important that she is launching the REI Tech podcast, because it's really going to start helping people in real estate how to understand the technology. So it's great to have you. Meghan, was there anything in your bio, that you think might be important for you to bring up as it relates to blockchain?
Blockchain, well, just in launching this podcast, the REI Tech podcast, I've really, really, really poured myself into a thorough investigation of the internet through LinkedIn, through search engines, of trying to find these new prop tech companies that are already up and running, but are so new that no one has heard of them or knows much about them, of how they're able to change anything as far as innovating the utilization of blockchain as an innovation in real estate investing. So the technologies that we're finding are hidden. They're not very well known. Like you had mentioned earlier, blockchain is something that is the future of capital raising, but there's so little about it that even as much as like 4 or 5 months ago, people were saying it was really just something for marketing. It was really just something that sounds cool, is trendy, looks cool. But when you dig deep into it and you find the companies that are utilizing blockchain, it leverages so many advantages that I don't know how anyone won't be on blockchain within the next year.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Okay, so let's dive into some questions here. Within blockchain, we're talking about blockchain and capital raising for syndication, and we're talking a little bit about how in the future, you're saying within a year. I don't know if I'm as optimistic, just because I think that there's a lot of people in real estate who are very resistant to change. But maybe it'll all be done within a year, which I'm on board for that. I want it to happen. But can you tell us why it's so important? Like, I'm over here raising on our last deal $6 million.
Okay.
And I didn't use the blockchain. I used a title company. I used a brand new LLC. And they put their money, they wired it directly to the bank. So tell me where the flaws are in what I and most of the listeners have been doing in the past, and how it's going to be solved with blockchain.
Well, I mean, you've already mentioned a couple sticking points where I can say that blockchain will come in and solve the problem. So you talked about, like, I could even just ask you, what are the problems with capital raising? It's these sticking points. It's the middlemen, the intermediaries. They cause increased amount of expenses in the capital raising. Well, when we're using blockchain technology, you can eliminate like the title company, because all the information of that transaction will inherently be stored within the blockchain of the deal itself. Now, I'm going to try to, the best sentence in one line, how I can explain what blockchain will do for us is blockchain will do for transactions what the internet did for information. So in raising capital, that's a lot of transactions, right? So you have the transactions between everyone with contracts. You've got transactions between capital moving different places. You've got transactions when you're making your payouts. All of that could be included in the blockchain, so it's a seamless integration. Now, you also mentioned wiring money. We all know that wiring money is a risk point when it comes to capital raising. And I don't know about you, but I've heard plenty of horror stories about wires gone wrong, being intercepted. Using blockchain, it's a more secure way, and using cryptocurrencies. Right now, it seems like the one that's being utilized most is Ethereum. But in being able to record those exchanges of capital through the blockchain and the exchanges of capital through blockchain, there's a major security risk that's just annihilated. So just in those two places, just those couple things you've mentioned, those are a couple problems that blockchain eliminates immediately.
Another one that you started to mention, it really hit me because I began this episode thinking that we're going to be talking about money, just money. But blockchain technology also is there for you within contracts that you sign, and all that other stuff. So what do you see happening in blockchain technology that will probably change first? Like, what do you see us adopting most quickly?
I think I believe that it'll start being tested in smaller capital raises, because right now, according to with changes in the Jobs Act and with adding crowdfundings where you can fund under $1 million once a year, you can do this and you can raise capital once a year, and you can try this out and utilize the system. So I think first it's going to be utilized by people with smaller raises. So to that point, I think it, like you said, I said it'll be used a lot in the next year. I believe that greatest amount of usage will be in the smaller capital raises. When you get into the blockchain technology, this is where we're getting to the tokenization of projects. You can, under the CFR regulation CF, which is crowdfunding, you can take in as many people as you want into your fund. So that'll open up your fund to people who aren't necessarily accredited investors. And that's been a problem that people have been trying to solve for a long time. Who wants to collect $3,000 from someone? Most people raising capital say nobody. But when you can tokenize your investment, that becomes much more interesting. And even that guy with $3,000 in your $1 million raise has a few tokens that he can, either buy in, keep buying into the project, one coin at a time or one token at a time from another investor. And another point we'll get into is another problem it solves that we probably should talk more about is the problem of liquidity in syndications with capital raising.
Yeah, let's dive right into liquidity, because with my experience with our attorneys, I'm not an attorney myself, but I've been told by our attorney that if we have a passive investor that comes in with 50 or 100,000, whatever amount, and they later on they say, I need to get this money out. What I've heard from our attorneys is there's no way for them to get out within like the first year or two. I don't remember the whole the amount. Like, there is no way that they're ever allowed within the first year or two to get out. But then there might be ways after that amount of time that they could sell their shares. So it's made it slow. It's made it difficult. What does blockchain and tokenization do to change that?
Well, the tokenization process, let's just say we'll make it easy, $1 million raise. And we have equal portions. So it basically takes that raise or that entity that you purchased, that $10 million raise for that $10 million perfect property, and we have exactly 1,000 investors, right? So it tokenizes each of their investments. Some may have invested $300,000, giving them each 3 tokens. And those tokens they're liquid, meaning they're exchangeable, meaning they're sellable. And the value of these tokens increases as time should increase as time progresses and the added value is completed on the project. Now, someone who likes to get their money in, get their money out, and maximize their returns might be the smart investor who gets involved in tokenized investments, buys in before the add value, waits maybe 2 years so that value has maximized in net growth, gets out then, and jumps into another add value property situation. So that token will constantly be changing value as the valuation of the property increases. This is also good for developments because you can get in, put your money in, and tokenize your investment into a development and either exchange your tokens for maybe a unit in that development later, or you can take your tokens and sell them off when they get closer to sale. I mean, so it really allows you to play almost, I won't say play like a small Wall Street game in your investments. It makes it more interesting. And if you're a passive investor who likes to watch what's going on with your investments, this gives you a lot more view into what's going on with your investment. And instead of the maybe once a month newsletter you get from your sponsor or quarterly payout you get. So this is something, and here's another problem it solves. Transparency. You can't have blockchain without transparency. And because it's open, it's public sourced. You can't say my computer holds the information. It's our computers of all the users hold all the information. And that sounds scary, but don't worry because they've figured out that there's ways to give users access to some info so that you can see a transaction has happened. You will not necessarily be guaranteed information you won't be guaranteed the details of what happened within that transaction. So that, I think, just adds even more trust into your product, right? I believe everybody's got a deal, everybody's got something to sell you, but you really got to find the people who bring the trust to the game. And this technology brings trust to the game. You can see where the money's going, you can see where the money's gone. It with the smart contracts, it automatically constitutes payouts with if-then theories. So if rent comes in at this time of the month, payouts go out, and it's like already distributed. It's already automated. You're automating systems, which is, if you're doing that, you're taking the friction out of the system, the middlemen out. You're actually creating it's less expensive to create your investment product. Then you're passing that savings off to your investors. So it's a more fruitful investment. I don't see a way that it actually is harmful. I haven't seen it yet, and I can't wait to do my first capital raise and pioneer this technology.
I'm loving this interview. This is really good stuff, and we're about to get into the final 5. But before we get there, I learned a couple cool things from you. You talked about how it reduces friction, how it just makes things easier. You talked about how it increases transparency, which means that your passive investors can see everything that you got going on. It's very easy. But when you talked about the transparency, you also let us know that there are controlled permissions. So with your CPA, if they need to know a certain thing, but you don't want everyone else knowing, like it's not important for other people, then you have a way to control those permissions. We talked about smart contracts within blockchain. And you talked about it having a shared ledger. What is there anything else within blockchain technology that you think that the listener needs to know right now?
I think you summed that out quite efficiently. That's a lot, and that was a mouthful even put out there. I mean, I could go deeper into each of those aspects, but it would get really technical. So for this conversation, I think it was perfect.
Which thing can you go deeper into, and you think you should go deeper into for this conversation? Is there one of those few things? Because I want to know more about controlled permissions. Like within transparency, if you could even go a little bit deeper on like how you control those permissions or how it's going to be, I'm interested in that.
Okay, well, for each end user, there's the technical aspect of that. I might not be the best person to talk to about. That's why on my show, I have some of those technical people come on and advise on some of that. But in the understanding, and let me explain it just a little bit better for your listeners, when it comes to syndications, you'll be able to see that you made a transaction, or hey, your tokens, right? Let's say you sold 3 tokens to investor A. You don't want all the investors to know maybe how much you sold them for. So those permissions are only granted in that transaction specifically through the utilization of hashtags, which we're not, with hashes, which we're not even gonna, that's getting more technical than I need to. Either way, it allows the permissions for you to see what has happened and transpired within that transaction. And you can constantly go back to that record, but it allows everyone else to see, oh, someone's sold some of their tokens, but it doesn't let everyone see how much for. So you might have had, so that it also, I love this specifically because if you're an investor and maybe you're at an economic disadvantage or a personal disadvantage in your life, right? You're going through a divorce. I'm personally going through one. So this to me is so brilliant. I can sell off maybe some of your shares in the tokenization and not all of them. And you don't want someone to know that you were willing to sell some at a discount, because then you become a disadvantaged investor when other people know that you're hurting. So in that permissions is so important that you're protected within that. So I just love that on top of the liquidity. I mean, it's perfect for the smart investor.
Very, very cool stuff. Well, this is fascinating to me. My business partner, DJ, he's been huge into all blockchain stuff, and I think he owns a little bit of every type of cryptocurrency.
He's got all the cryptos.
I think he's got a little. Well, there's probably thousands of cryptos. Let's just say he's got 10 of them. You know,
he's got a little bit of.
What is that one called? Ether or something? Isn't there one?
Ethereum. Yeah,
Ethereum,
that's the one.
Bitcoin, Litecoin, and I know he's got like a bunch of them. And
well, you can create your own. You can create your own cryptocurrency by tokenizing your syndication. So you can create Atom Coin, or you could create 5216 Park Place Coin. I mean, it's really essentially what you're doing by tokenizing the investment. So it's kind of cool.
I feel like syndicators are going to be moving into having their own like applications, like phone apps, iPhone apps, and it's going to have all these new tokens, and they're going to call it, AAA coin or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Seriously, because now I'm going to go in a little bit more tech, but there's the whole no code movement where people are realizing there aren't enough coders to code all the things. So coders are partially coding things. So it's like when you go into Canva and you click and select and do that, it's part of the no code movement. So yes, we will be having our apps because you can create apps without code now already. So you got to get on board with technology. It's moving fast.
It is. You know what? That's the quote of the day. You got to get on board with technology because it's moving fast. We're going to jump into the final 5, but first a quick word from our sponsor.
This episode was made possible by Adam's Inner Circle program. This exclusive group is a collection of industry leaders, influencers, passive investors, and strong operators. This is the type of community you want to join, where we come together multiple times each month, virtually and in person. We support each other, invest with each other, and even interview each other on our podcasts, and invite each other to speak at our live events. If you're ready to take your real estate investing to the next level, this is the group for you. Fill out an application today by following the link in the show notes.
And we're back with Miss Meghan Mccallum. And we're going to get into the final five. So what is a book that you recommend?
One of my favorite books to recommend to people is The Economic Hit, or Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Tighten up your belts for that one.
Hitman.
Yeah,
Okay.
that really, read that book. That's a good one.
Meghan, what's the biggest win of the week? What's your biggest win of the week?
My biggest win of the week has been that none of my friends or family have been injured in any of the riots across the country.
That is good, because we're recording this at a very crazy time. The next question is, what is a challenge that you've recently overcome within your multifamily business?
Well, currently, when we're recording this, we're all still feeling a little bit of the squish of the COVID pinch. And I, unfortunately, was one of those investors that I'm holding a property where I have people choosing not to pay and withholding rent. So we've been working really hard to try to figure out how to make ends meet, and talking to our bill collectors and our tenants to try to find some way that's agreeable to let people stay in their homes and get them back on track with making payments.
If you came across a brand new multifamily investor, someone who is eager to get involved, but they are brand new, what is the one thing you would tell them?
If I was telling a brand new investor who is eager to get involved in real estate investing through multifamily, I would tell them to educate themselves. And on your first deal, partner with someone with gray hair. That tip I got from Kathy Fetke.
Yes.
Find someone with the gray hairs, and that's where you want someone with real experience. You and I know that there have been a lot of people just jumping into the syndication game because they read a book, because they listened to a podcast. You want someone who's been in the game a while to teach you. They want to teach you the mistakes that they made. Learn their mistakes through them. Don't learn them by making them yourself. That'll set you back. Making them yourself will set you back tens of decades, maybe. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. And how about this? What about somebody who's listening, who's experienced? They've been doing multifamily. What's the one thing that's going to help them take it to the next level?
Pay attention to technology and get involved now. If your peers aren't hearing about this or that, don't ignore it just because no one else is talking about it. Everyone wants to be a thought leader, right? There's a lot of people have podcasts, people have Facebook Lives, all that. Be a thought leader in technology, because it is 100% guaranteed to be the future of real estate investing. I don't see real estate investing going backwards. I don't see us bartering land for titles. I mean, going back to feudalistic times, the only way is forward. And when I believe it's something like 30% of the world's wealth is in real estate, and it's just getting to this paradigm shift, this tipping point where it's about to jump into this technological age, that's where your competitive advantage is. It's a huge competitive advantage. And it will be a very short period of time from where you can start using these technologies to where everyone else will be on them. Because with technology, no one's using it. It's typically like this, little uptick. Some people start using it, and then everyone's using it. Just like everyone started using the iPhone out of nowhere, right?
Got it. That's really good advice. I really appreciate it. What is the one best way for the listener to find you or get a hold of you?
I think the cleanest way for anyone to get a hold of me is come find me on LinkedIn. And you can do that just by searching my name. And I'd love to connect with you.
We'll go ahead and put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes so the listener can just scroll down right now, connect with you. And Meghan, I really appreciate you coming on the show, spending time sharing with us, dark age real estate people, what the future looks like, and giving us a slap in the face to really open up, waken up, and get on board before we get left behind. I'm going to let you go, but until next time, think outside the box. As a reminder, any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are for accredited investors only. And if you're interested in working with me and my team, then go to realbluespruce.com and click Get on the List. It's that simple. Just click Get on the List to start passively investing. This has been an episode of the Apartment Investing Show with me, Adam Adams. All rights are reserved. And if you haven't done so already, then make sure that you absolutely smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode.